In this video, I'll look at a subject that's extremely important in an age gap relationship with a Filipina that many don't really want to think about, and that is planning for the future with your Filipina. Some people may say because they may have a large age gap relationship where naturally your life expectancy will be far shorter than that of your much younger Filipina, that they don't really want to think or plan too far into the future. Now, I understand that no one really likes to look at our own eventual demise, and I'm certainly one for believing life is for the living, and we should embrace every moment that we have left on this earth. But it is important in any relationship to be planning for the future, and that doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, as you'll see as I go through this video. My goal here is not to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do, but more so to get you thinking about what's best for you, your Filipina, any children you may have, as well as your relationship. So if your mind wants to be challenged for the benefit of your Filipina and relationship, then be sure to buckle up and stay with me here. I'm glad you decided to stick around. Now, the way I see it, we must always have some sort of plans for the future when in any relationship. I mean, what's the point of living like we're expecting to die at any minute, no matter one's age? To me, when one decides to be in a serious age gap relationship with a Filipina, he's undertaking to do the right thing by her in every possible way. Now granted, none of us are perfect, but we must try the best we can. My view is that setting goals in life, whether they're short-term, medium-term or long-term, is a must as a couple to remain on the same page as the years go by. And this also gives a sense of unity as a couple, which is also very important. Of course, the goals we make must be realistic and achievable. So if you're 85 years of age, for example, well, you wouldn't want to be getting into any debt that may take 20 years to pay off. Now, I know most of you guys would never do such a thing, but it's just an example of a goal that's not realistic or achievable. But even more importantly than the goals we set as a couple right now, as you guys move forward, it's important that you plan for your Filipina's life after you're gone. This is where things can get rather tricky, because I know from my own experience, as well as what many other guys have told me, that many Filipinas are not keen on talking about what happens when we finally pass away. Now, I get it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but we must try. If in the end she cries every time you bring the subject up, then I believe we must take it upon ourselves to do what we can to ensure she won't be left penniless and homeless or disadvantaged in any way. For some, this can be rather easy, as they do a final will and testament and lodge it with a lawyer. These guys may just leave 100% to the Filipina to ensure she's well looked after, especially if kids are involved. Other guys may have many other things and people to consider, like adult children for example, where he may like them to have some sort of inheritance after he's gone. These are all rather delicate and personal matters that one needs to carefully consider from all sides to work out the best and fairest outcomes for all. I do believe no matter how much or little you may have, you must be thinking of what life will be like for your Filipina after you're gone, especially if you guys are living in your country where she won't have the everyday support of her family like she would back home. For the guys with little money or assets, maybe consider getting some life insurance before you get past the age when no one will insure you. That's a good way to look out for your Filipina. I've heard guys say that they've already organised and paid for their own funeral in advance, so that will be one less worry for her when her man passes. Other guys have said how they appoint their closest and most trusted friend or relative to be the executor of the will, so they know their final wishes will be carried out and the Filipina will be taken care of. Why not organise with a caring friend of yours or your wife's to ensure they will offer support in those difficult months after you're gone? Now, most likely such a friend would naturally be there for your wife, but just making sure gives us peace of mind. Other things guys do as they get older when in an age gap relationship is to make sure they clear up any debts where the accounts may be in both names, and depending on the country you live in, be sure to know if you owe money in your name that these companies can't pursue your wife once you're gone, even though she was never on the contract. I've heard some strange stories around this from some guys in certain countries, and I'm unsure if they're true or not. So my point is, just be sure that you're aware of the credit laws around this in your country. One thing I felt was very important to do in the early stages of my relationship with my wife, who's 20 years younger than me, was to try and prepare her for the day when I'm no longer here. Now, being 57 years of age right now, I'm hoping this time is still a long way off, but one never really knows, and one needs to make sure that she's okay when we're gone. So I was very keen to allow my wife to do as much for herself as possible. I remember when my wife was first preparing to find employment, and her friend told her the story of when she was going to an interview. This friend told her how her husband went with her to the interview and did most of the talking, so it came as no surprise she didn't get the job. Now I know her husband was just trying to look out for her, but it wasn't doing her any favours. When the time came for my wife to go to her first job interview, she went on her own and she came home as an employed woman, which really boosted her confidence dramatically. Another thing that I felt was very important was for my wife to gain her driver's licence, and we spent quite a considerable amount of money in doing so, but it was well worth it. My wife never imagined she would ever drive a car, and now I'm so glad she has her licence, as this provides her with much independence, and it will continue to do so well after I'm gone. You see guys, there is plenty to consider, even if your Filipina doesn't want to have these difficult discussions with you. You can make plans for the future as a couple while you're here, and you can make sure that she's okay once you're gone. To me, that's the right and caring thing to do, and I know when I go, I'll do so with full peace. I believe it's something we all need to face and embrace as a loving final gesture for our wife or lifelong partner. If you have any other ideas that we never covered in this video on how to make sure your Filipina is well looked after you've gone, then be sure to pop them in the comments section below. And remember guys, if your Filipina is one of those that won't talk about life after you're gone, then there's still plenty you can do yourself to ensure that she's well taken care of. For more free information and tips around age gap relationships with a Filipina, be sure to check out my playlist on screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.